Who's ready for some inequalities? Woohoo! All right. Okay. Let's do this first, though. Solve each problem. So part A, well, that's pretty easy. I would say x is equal to 3. Okay, part B, x plus 5 is less than or equal to 8. So let's just move the 5 over. So x could be anything that's less than or equal to positive 3. Okay, so what's the difference in their solutions? Well, the equation, it just has one actual solution. But the inequality, it's got a lot of them. There are a lot of different numbers that you could choose that would make this inequality work. But the equation, there isn't. So equations are a little bit more restrictive on their solutions. Inequalities are a bit more flexible in what they would accept. So typically when you solve an equation, we get individual answers, like x equals 3, x equals 5, x equals a half. They're very specific. Versus when we solve an inequality, we get solution intervals or solution sets. So why is that? Well, that's basically just because of the structure of what they mean. You're looking for specific numbers that you can plug in for x that make it just equal to. Well, here you can be equal to, but it can also be smaller than the 8. So just in their definitions, they kind of tell you how they work. All right, so let's look at some steps for solving inequalities. So like this one here, I mean, that was pretty easy. But now we're going to be looking at ones that involve polynomials and rational functions as opposed to just a linear. So step number 1 is you want to find the zeros. So whatever makes that inequality 0, those are the zeros. Then you're going to draw a number line and place the zeros on it, and just make sure they go in numerical order. Okay, 3, you're going to test the created intervals, because when you put your zeros on the number line, you're kind of dividing the number line into sections or intervals. So you're going to test them by choosing any number in that interval. Then plug in the test number and determine if the result is positive or negative. That's all you care about. Is the result positive or is it negative? You don't even care about if it's a positive 2. Well, all you're doing is, well, is it positive or is it negative? So number 4, the original inequality will tell you if you want the intervals that are positive or if you want the intervals that are negative. And then the last one, number 5, write the intervals that you want, making sure to use parentheses or brackets when appropriate. And sometimes you'll have one of each as well. I just didn't want to write the word. Okay, so let's see how it works. Solve the inequality, x plus 1 times x minus 2. So this one's really nice. It's already factored for you. So we can list out the zeros that are -1 and 2. So that was step 1. Step 2, draw a number line. Okay, and then place your zeros on it. So place them in order. So -1 and positive 2. Okay, step 3, we got to test these intervals. So I got to test this interval, the one in the middle, and the one on the right. So I'm going to choose any number that's in those intervals. So on this interval here, I can choose any number that's less than -1. And any number I want that's less than -1. So I'm going to make it easy on myself, and I'm going to pick -2. But if you wanted to pick like -pi or negative square root of 1,127, you can do it. You just go for it. But sometimes you just kind of want to be nice to yourself too. All right, So now choose a number in between -1 and 2. Well, I'm going to go with a really nice number to use. I'm going to choose 0. But you could choose +1. You could go -1/2. Those would also work. And on this last interval over here, anything larger than 2, so let's just do 3. So these numbers that I chose, those are my test numbers. I'm going to plug them back into the original inequality and see if the result is positive or negative. So if I plug in the -2, I'd end up with a negative in that parentheses times another negative, so a negative times a negative is a positive. Again, I don't care if it's a +4 or +8, I just want to know is it positive. Plug in the 0, out of a positive times a negative, that's a negative. Plug in the 3, positive times a positive, and you get a positive. Now some of you are going, wait, how did he know it was a positive when he plugged it in there? Well, just kind of think about it. 3 plus 1, that's positive, right? 3 minus 2, that's also positive, so a positive times a positive. So that's how I do it. I don't keep track of like the actual number, I just keep track of the sign. Okay, so that was 3. 4, look back at your inequality and determine if you want the positive signs or the negative. So you're looking at this part right there. It's less than or equal to 0. Well, that means you want the negatives because you want them that are less than or equal to, so that means you want the minuses. So if you look back at your number line, where are your minus signs? Well, there's only one minus sign, and it's on that middle interval. It's in between the -1 and the 2. So that's going to be your solution set. Anything from -1 to 2 is going to make it negative, which is what you wanted. But since it has the equal bar, you're going to put brackets on the two numbers. Okay, so that's how these are going to go. So let's take a pause here, and then we'll pick it up in the next video.